Good morning, Joy Horner here, a little bit later than expected. Just want to talk a little bit about the situation with independent midwives currently, because there's a lot of confusion, and I've heard from a lot of women who are not having their needs met on the NHS, and there are no longer the choice of the numbers of independent midwives that there used to be. So how have we got in this mess? Well, I became an independent midwife in 2005, and at that time we did not need insurance to look after people during birth. What this meant was I let all my clients know that if I was negligent, I would expect them to report me to the NMC. But unfortunately, the only way to get money to care for their damaged baby would be to take me through the courts, this is outside of our governing body, and to try and sue me and get money out of me. And the chances of doing that were very slim, because strangely enough, independent midwives don't earn loads and loads of money. Yes, it costs lots to hire one, but a lot of that goes in insurance and equipment and travel, and we're not we don't have lots and lots of money. So that was the situation back then, and I even had a medical negligence lawyer who booked with me. And she said at booking, Joy, I'm not having any tests or scans or anything like that. She said, I'll sign whatever you want me to sign, to actually absolve me of any legal responsibility, although I still would be responsible professionally. She could still get me struck off the register. And no, I didn't have any paperwork like that at all. I've never had anything absolving me of any responsibility, because that's not how I work. In 2013, 2014, we were told by the European Union that there was a health directive which required all professionals that were allied to medicine to have professional indemnity insurance. And what this would mean is that if you were negligent, if you damaged a baby, there would then be a payout from the insurance to care for the baby. And that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? But the fault in all this is that if there's a damaged baby, let's say your baby is damaged, but there's no negligence. Your baby is very ill, your baby's suffered from something that happened, as it was developing, and you need financial help to adapt your home and to care for that baby. Shouldn't the government be providing that help? Shouldn't our government provide for the most vulnerable in our society? Shouldn't the government, make sure that every baby, every child is well cared for, and parents don't have to struggle and fundraise like they do currently? This is why it's where the insurance companies have come in, rubbing their little hands, saying, we're going to get loads of money out of this. Because they do. Insurance premiums for medical care always go up. They go up and up and up and up, because there will always be claims. There will always be negligence. There will always be people who think that there was negligence, even if there wasn't negligence. And people that just need good care for their babies and their children as they grow. And these payouts are in the millions, as you would expect. To care for a person full time for their life is millions. So independent midwives had to get this insurance to cover up to 10 million if a baby was damaged. Now, independent midwives, because of the nature of how we work one-to-one with families. So it is very, very rare that we would be negligent in our duties, because the buck stops with us. We've got no one else to blame. We can't say, oh, actually, I went off shift and it was someone else's responsibility. We can't say, oh, there wasn't a handover from the previous midwife, we didn't know about that. We are totally responsible, in partnership with the woman or pregnant person. We are totally responsible for providing this care. And the buck stops with us. We know we can get sued. So it would be very, very rare that you could prove negligence against us, because we're just not negligent. We are fallible, we are human, accidents happen, mistakes happen. Yeah, but it's very, very rare for independent midwives. More likely on a busy NHS ward, where things are forgotten at handover, where someone's caring for 2 or 3 people at the same time. Yeah, so independent midwives as a group, you'd think our premiums would be lower than any other midwife or health professional. But no, we're clumped in the same boat. So we had this insurance until, was it 2 years ago now? I think it was 2 years ago, when our governing body decided that our insurance product wasn't good enough and withdrew it. We weren't allowed to use it anymore. So we weren't allowed to work. Now, alongside us, alongside independent midwives, there's a company called Private Midwives. And private midwives were able to get an additional insurance because they're a company. Now, independent midwives are self-employed. So they're employed by the families. They're not paid by anyone else. They're only responsible to, our governing body, and we have to inform people of NICE guidelines and things like that. Private midwives are something completely different. So they have their own guidelines on top of the NICE guidelines to keep their insurance premiums down. And it's with great sadness this week that I have heard from people who are being failed by that service. So independent midwives can't work because we can't get insurance. Okay, so we can provide antenatal care, we can provide postnatal care. We have not got insurance to attend births currently. If we work for private midwives, we can access insurance, but women do not have the range of choices that they had with an independent midwife. They may not care for you if you're expecting a breech baby and want to give birth at home. They may not care for you if you're expecting twins. They may not care for you if you've declined scans or blood tests. They may not care for you if you've stepped outside of the guidelines for anything else, if there's any possible risk factor, because you will put their insurance premiums up. If there's a problem and you've gone against the guidelines and the lovely midwife supporting you has gone against the guidelines, that will be bad for them. Their insurance premiums will go up. So they may not accept you. So what's your choice? Let's say you've had a traumatic experience with the NHS before. And previously you could find a lovely local independent midwife and say, hey, can you look after me? And she can look after you all the way through. So now, if you can't do that and private midwives won't look after you, you don't go back to the NHS because you're traumatised. What are your options? Okay, so some people are choosing to free birth, but if that isn't an option, if that is something that is forced upon you because of circumstances, that's not an option. You haven't chosen that. That's not, I was going to say it's not an informed choice. It is an informed choice, but it might not be your best choice. It's certainly not your first choice. It might not be something that you really want to do, but you've been left with no choice. This is the situation at the moment. And this is why Childbirth Choices and independent midwives are trying to raise money to get their own insurance product, so that independent midwives can work again. There's a brilliant single that's been released that you can download by a wonderful woman called Nikita, who herself used an independent midwife. We're trying to raise money. But I still think we're all taken for fools. The whole lot of us, we've all been taken for fools. My colleague, Mary Cronk, said we should never have accepted that we need insurance for birth. We should never have accepted that, because now we're trapped. Now we can't work without it. We shouldn't have accepted that we need insurance for birth. We should demand, all of us, not just midwives, all of us should demand that the government does better and provides for anyone and everyone who needs looking after in our society. That's what we need. We don't need bloody insurance. Ah. Anyway, I'm going to have to wind up. I can hear that my husband wants to talk to me in the background. But yeah, that's just my little rant for today, and hopefully clears up the difference between independent midwives and private midwives. And yes, some former independent midwives do work for private midwives, but they are meant to stick to the guidelines and the policies, and if they don't, they'll be given the heave-ho. They will no longer work for independent midwives. So that's my talk for today. I hope it's provided a little bit of clarity and a little bit of, fire in your belly to demand better, to vote better. Okay, bye.